All right, it's important because this next section, as we do our questionnaire, 10 of them, it's pretty interesting. And I asked you to stop at 10 questions because after 2 questions, our minds tend to linger a little bit, tend to get distracted when somebody's not comfortable. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to embrace, and sometimes you just don't want to deal with it because you're fine the way you are right now. But what you really need to realize is that sometimes you got to confront it in order to deal with it. So the next one is a lot of the times as we come together, we bring a lot of trash. But if you want the best, you have to get the best. If you want to build a home that is the best, you have to bring your best. And I'm going to say it again. It's all about what do you bring to the table. Every single day of your life, you bring into the table something new. And that's why eventually things, even in our house, gets replaced because there was something old that it wasn't working for you anymore. Then it has to be renewed with something new and much better. And yes or no? How many of us have upgraded our home to the better within the past 10 years? Right? We upgrade. Within our marriage, it's the same thing. Because a lot of the times we have a building like this in our home, a reflection like this of our home. Because we can use what we collect based on what people tells us, our parents, our neighbors, our friends, cousins, or whatever, our community surroundings, and what we believe about ourselves. And a lot of the times marriages look like this. They look like old shacks, outhouses. They stink. They smell rotting from the inside and out. Because they don't have a solid foundation. But also the two individuals didn't bring and they bring everything they have instead of being selective and get rid of the things that they need to be get rid of in order to make it perfect. God has given you perfect material in your life to build a good home. Life has given you trash because He had treated you like trash. So you bring that trash and you try to build a home, and that's why a lot of marriages look like this. Patches. Horrible. Unlivable. But yet sometimes we paint it. Oh, my marriage is great. You paint the facade, but deep inside it is rotting. That's why it's important for you to reassess your life every single day. How your marriage is doing, and sometimes you go through difficult times, and that's fine. But the difficult times are the things that surface that are bad and you need to get rid of. And a lot of the times when we don't want to admit that we're wrong, we blame it on the next person, on the person next to us, instead of you reassessing your life and say, this is the trash I have that I haven't dealt with, that is still, you see, air, rats, foxes, even thieves get into those crevices. They're stealing from your home. You've got to understand that God wants you to realize that He has given you the great materials. And a lot of the times you don't even realize that you have materials within yourself. But the world has given you materials, and that's why a lot of the marriages look like this. Instead of a beautiful home. I told you, I've been in places where there are mansions, but there is no home. It's a beautiful house. I've been in places where it's just a little humble doesn't mean poor. We have to reword that. I've been in places where they're poor, but you feel like home. But what's the secret of it? The secret is the foundation. How to build it. And the old foundation that we talked about earlier, in Luke 6, is that the foundation is Christ. The foundation is His Word. Because we already give you the material. You have the material inside, your ideas, your thoughts, your comments, and everything about you. It doesn't mean you have to reassess, because all that stuff it says reassess. You're not reassessing what you bring in, then you're building something like this. And that's not livable for your kids. Mind you, not even yourself. That's why more than likely you live in a bigger home, because it's stuff that you bring in. But yet we blame it on the other person. You see what I'm saying? And it's good to make an assessment, because you need an improvement. You need a home improvement. You need the builder to get inside you to change the way you think, act, and live. So that way, when you bring something to the table, you bring the best, because he gives you the best. The biggest mistake that you ever make is blaming somebody else for your fault. The biggest mistake. I tell people, your biggest enemy is you. Man, you don't know how she is, because you're worse. You don't know how he is, because you're worse. You see what I'm saying? You got to understand that it's this assessment right here, we're going to continue with it. And before we continue with the other 13 of them, I want you to do me a favor. Just really go back to those questions and understand, and then proceed and finish. Because your house doesn't need to look like this anymore. Your home, what you're building together, what you're about to start building together. You got to understand, what am I bringing? Am I bringing the best, or am I bringing laziness? Am I bringing hatred, bitterness? All these bunch of things are garbage that you want to decorate your home. I don't know about you, but women have a very good taste in decorating. Why? Because their hearts are kind. But once it's tainted, decoration fails. What are you bringing to the table? Yeah, folks, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to your relationship? Are you bringing your garbage and want to build something like this? Or you want to bring the best, so you can build a home built on a rock that, regardless of what happens on the outside, inside it is unshakable. Just like Jesus said. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who builds a house, and it digs deep, and he builds a house into the foundation. And what did I say about that man? We call him human. Because the biggest mistake that people make is like 90% of your problems is you, not the person next to you. You have to understand that. You have to know that. And then what do I say? Then you have to begin to live your life and say, let me make a self-assessment. Okay? And then you turn around and you talk to God, and God, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And him all the time, because he's going to take you for a full ride. And you better get some feelings, because he's sure. But it's the best thing that can happen to your life when you bring your best to your spouse. They get their best. We were talking about that prophet, and he married a prostitute. He brought the best. It is a reflection of God's mercy, loving kindness for a rebelling, prostituted woman, for this prophet. Right? Girl. But God never fails to give you the best. You have the best inside of you. The best of you. You know what's the best of you, because that makes us feel good when we say good coming to our kid, when you say good coming to your spouse, or even your business. You've got good material in there, but you've got to make sure that the material that the world has given you is this. So as we grow up in life, we build from the material of the world, which is nothing but garbage. We build our lives and relationships based on lives and relationships and ideas in subconsciousness. We build it as we put it together. Our own little shacks look like this, and then all of a sudden, what you need to do is to build a home. You gotta destroy what you have built within you. And then your people bring their trash instead of being selective, choosing the best. Are you gonna buy this for $500,000? Of course not. Not. Hey, mind you, I'm 1/8 of an acre. Of course, but in Tennessee, you're not going to get that for that price. Are you crazy? But yet we sell it to ourselves. Our responsibility is to make an assessment every day. And then you say, what I need to get rid of my bitterness, my envy, my egotistical ways, my lack of listening, my lack of talking, my lack of taking action, taking too much action, manipulation, all these sorts of things that are really hindering your life. You need to get rid of it and say, let me bring my best because my spouse deserves the best. Let me be the best cheerleader. Let me be the best partner. Let me be the best person in every single area of life. And then you turn around and say, okay, then all these things we get will begin to disappear. Because the material that you don't have to build your home, your spouse or your future spouse has it. And that's how you build a perfect home. But where do you start? With the foundation. Because the foundation will support the material you bring in. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't need to live like this. I don't care how beautiful your house is. But if your home looks like this, it's worthless. We're going to engage now. You have to distract yourself. All of you read number after 10? You guys read the little paragraph? And I'm going to ask you to go ahead. We're going to engage. You got to review the first hymn. Go back to your spots. And then what we're going to do next is just going to proceed on to all 23 of them. Okay? So go back to your spot. We're going to read. I'm going to keep you here about 15, 20 minutes. Excuse me. And I want you to look at this picture when you do it. Take a glance as you do it. Take a glance like this. My question is your heart like this? Have you built your life like this? Remember, have your bad habits inherited from somebody? What about if marriages and infidelity, all this bunch of stuff is still lingering in your wall? That must get rid of. That must be cast out. Because that is not you anymore. And you have to realize that. What about truth, honesty? Those are the best qualities you have. So re-engage yourself.